Hey everyone! Welcome back to the Baker's Almanac. Thanks so much for clicking on this video, and this is the second part in a series I'm releasing about finding a pastry job in New York City. The first part talks all about how I found the different jobs, applied to them, and then scheduled the interviews or trails. And then today we're talking all about the trails themselves. So if you missed that first part, I'll make sure to link it above and then also put it in the description box below. So let's get into it. So, trails. I'd heard a lot about them in pastry school. They were kind of infamous, and I was really nervous going into my first one. I woke up that day and I tried to eat something and it just wasn't happening. I had the butterflies in my stomach. I didn't know what to expect and I was terrified. And for those of you who don't know, a trail is pretty common in the culinary industry. So what happens is when you apply for a job, oftentimes a restaurant or a bakery will ask you to come in and then work an unpaid shift basically. So that's what's called a trail. Sometimes called a stage, but I think it's more appropriately a trail. And during this trail, what they're looking for is just to see your skills, your work ethic, how clean you are, how many questions you ask, and so forth. And so it really does provide the first, impression for the chef just to see if you'll get the job. So you want to make sure that you do well. And I scheduled quite a few trails throughout 1 week of time. And I tried to kind of do them day by day, just so that I had lots of opportunities coming and many chances to actually get a job. So in terms of the trails, they usually last about 4 to 8 hours, and so I probably wouldn't recommend doing a bunch of them in a row just because it does get exhausting. I actually only ended up doing 2 trails before I found the job that I accepted, and I ended up canceling the rest after I accepted that position. So in terms of the trails that I did, they were pretty similar in some regards, but actually different in others as well. So the first trail I did was at a French restaurant in New York City, and so I went down there and I met with the pastry chef, and she basically gave me a uniform to change into. So the chef's whites and the pants and so forth, and I also had brought my own tools to use. So I changed into the uniform in the bathroom of the restaurant and then came back out. And then she first gave me a quick tour of the kitchen, showed me where everything was, and it kind of went in one ear out the other because it was a lot to take in. It's a large, bustling kitchen, lots of different things going on. And then she showed me the pastry station. And so I got set up, I unpacked my tools, and then I got started. So she then assigned me some things to do. So during my trail, I think I mixed kind of a bread dough and I let that proof. I portioned quite a few Parker House rolls, some different rolls. I made a kind of a buttercream that they were going to use for one of their dishes during service, and then assisted with other tasks like that. So just pretty easy tasks, nothing too crazy, but it's just so that she can see how I was working. And a lot of times I came across things that I didn't know where to find a tool or, a food or something like that. And so whenever I had any questions, I just asked her right away and she pointed me in the right direction. And so that first trail lasted about 4 hours. I got out around 4 p.m. And when the trail wrapped up, she took me back into the main office of the restaurant and asked me how it went. And I told her I really enjoyed the trail, the experience. It was interesting getting to see the kitchen and how it worked. And then she actually offered me the position on the spot. So I was actually kind of expecting this to happen because my career counselor at the International Culinary Center did say this was common, especially right now because there's a shortage of pastry cooks in New York City. So a lot of restaurants and bakeries are looking. And so she offered me the position, she gave me the salary and explained how it would work. And since it was my first trail, I did want to go on a couple other ones to see if it was the right fit for me before making a decision. So I told her I would get back to her in a couple of days, and then I thanked her for her time and then took off. And that was my first trail. It was a big relief when it was over, I'm going to be honest, and I felt a little bit more confident going into the next one now that I had the first one under my belt. Can we just... And then let's go to the next trail. This was the following day, and this one started at 2 p.m. and it was kind of an upscale American restaurant. So different style of food, different work, but in essence the trail itself was pretty similar. So like the other one, I got there, I was given a uniform to change into. I didn't have to actually bring my own tools for this place, which was nice. And after I got changed, I settled into the pastry station and also got a tour of the kitchen. And so at this trail, I actually stayed there for about 6 hours, so it was a bit longer. But in the beginning, the chef had me portioning some different rolls they were going to use. I made a lot of biscuits, about 100 biscuits, I think. I did some smaller tasks like cutting up nougat and wrapping candies. And then I had family meal with some of the team. And so family meal in restaurants is usually the meal that some of the savory people will prepare right before service. And so you eat and then service begins. And then during service, I actually got to go upstairs and see the kitchen in action during dinner, which was really cool. And I went to the pastry station and got to work with one of the pastry sous chefs, and he showed me the plating of some of the desserts. He let me sample a bunch of them, which was really nice. And I got to see it all in action. So it was nice to see kind of like the production aspect of the kitchen as well as the service aspect. And then like the other trail, that one wrapped up with me having a post-trail interview with the chef. And she also asked me how the trail went, and then she offered me the position. And this restaurant itself felt like a very good fit to what I was looking for, and I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. And so I actually ended up accepting that offer on the spot. And I felt really comfortable in my decision there. I knew I didn't want to go on more trails, and I loved the culture at the restaurant. Everyone was very welcoming and friendly, and there was a lot of room for growth there. So you started out a position and then you can often move up. And that was really attractive to me and really fit into kind of the context of what I was looking for my first job. So I accepted the position, and yeah, it felt good to have that process over with, and I really did learn a lot going on those trails. And so I did want to kind of provide some of the takeaways that I have from them, just kind of learn from my experience and what I would recommend to anyone going on their first trails out there. So in terms of the trails themselves, before you go, I really would recommend double checking with the chef beforehand to see if there's anything that you should bring. Oftentimes they'll ask you to bring some tools or your kitchen shoes or sometimes a uniform, so you want to make sure that you know up front exactly what you need to bring. And then double check that before you go out the door, just so you have everything, because you don't want to give a bad impression off the bat by not bringing what they asked you to. And then during the trail, my best recommendations are, you're not going to know how to do everything perfectly because you're in a brand new environment. This kitchen is totally new to you, and the best thing that you can do is just ask questions. After you do something, call the chef over and say, "Chef, is this what you're looking for? What do you think of this?" And then they'll provide you feedback. And as long as they see you asking questions and caring about your work and then continuing to improve, they know that you're going to be a good employee. In those post-trail interviews that I had, consistently the chefs told me I really liked how fast you worked, all the questions that you asked, and that you really just cared about what you were doing. And I think that's what helped me get the offers that I had. And so I just really would recommend taking those to heart when you're doing your first trails. And I know that you'll be given some amazing offers and find the job that really suits you the best and what you want to be doing. So yeah, those are all my tips related to going on pastry trails. Obviously, like I mentioned before, this is specific to New York City, so it might function differently in other cities or countries across the world, but this personally is what I went through. And I hope this will be helpful to some of you out there. And I'm also going to be posting more videos down the line about my experience as a pastry cook, and then just more about what I do in my job. And so if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and then also hit that subscribe button. It would really mean the world to me, and I'd love to build a community here on YouTube to really empower lots of other people in this space or just interested in this world in general. So yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and stay tuned for my future videos. I can't wait to share more exciting content with you all. Until next time!